Hey, it's Shannon, and welcome to my No Buy Year. My name is Shannon, and I am doing a no buy year in 2024 in which I cannot buy makeup, skincare, clothing or accessories, fabric or yarn, homewares, or books. It's gonna be tough, but that's what I'm doing in 2024. And a couple of people in my real life have asked me, have you bought anything ahead of the year to be prepared? And be prepared buying in my world, as far as I'm concerned, that's panic buying. Panic buying ahead of the no buy year. Have I done it? Yes. The answer is yes. So I have done a little bit of panic buying ahead of the no buy year because I knew it was coming. The no buy year was looming palpably and I could feel it breathing down my neck a bit. And so I have made some purchases that I may or may not have made otherwise if I wasn't doing a no buy year. So what specifically did I buy pre-no buy year? I panic bought a Hanes white t-shirt, a pair of red boots, and a couple of nude undergarments that I was very concerned about not having during the no buy. I also got a couple of books that I've been meaning to read, including a physical copy of Gaia's Garden, which is great for anyone who's interested in home-scale permaculture. It's one of those foundational books, and I realized I didn't have a physical copy and panicked, and so that one I did absolutely buy ahead of the no buy year. I also bought a couple of hydrating skin products because I have dry skin for the first time in my life. After last year, my skin type has changed a little bit, and now I have dry skin, which is brand new to me. So I got this Polar Hydrating Eye Stick. It is super adorable. And I also got this DHC Deep Cleansing Oil. It's supposed to be a lot less harsh on your skin. And that's good because I have really sensitive skin and now it's drying, and so I really needed those hydrating type of products and I was afraid of not having them. Something I did notice is that in most cases what I was panic buying was not special occasion, one-off type of items. Arguably the things that you'd think I'd be concerned I wouldn't have over the course of the year. But no, what I was panic buying were basics. Classic items that are foundational for most wardrobes. White t-shirts, new bras, things like that. These things you would think would be really the base layer of most collections and most wardrobes, and here I was freaking out because I realized last minute that I didn't have them. It really made me realize how much I was shortchanging myself on basics and indulging in unique occasion items. I have a lot of statement pieces in my wardrobe. As I sit here wearing a red leather jacket, statements are kind of my basics in my day-to-day life. But that meant that when I was faced with not being able to purchase items for an entire year, I realized that a lot of those basics I simply didn't have. And maybe that I would go out and buy them when I needed them as opposed to having them in my wardrobe to wear regularly, because I shouldn't have to chase down a pair of black tights when I have a closet full of faux fur coats. That doesn't make a ton of sense, and yet that was where I was finding myself. Additionally, I bought a couple pairs of dark sunglasses. I am notorious for losing or breaking sunglasses and buying cheap ones because I know that I'm going to lose or break or scratch them, or they get shoved in my purse and get damaged. And I am always replacing dark sunglasses. And I was really concerned because I realized I didn't have a pair that I felt would suffice. And if that happened during my no buy year, I would be required to use one of my stand-ins because I do have other sunglasses. They're not just that crisp, clean, dark pair. Many of my stand-ins are brightly colored or patterned or scratched to hell, and I didn't want to be without my classic black sunglasses that I wear all summer long. In speaking about this now, I'm having a fascinating new realization, and that is that a number of my panic buy purchases are directly correlated to how I am maintaining their existing counterparts in my current collection. And that's the thing with the white t-shirt. The reason I got a white t-shirt is because I'm always spilling or staining or marking t-shirts with muddy dog paws or a food stain or lipstick marks, and I always have a smudge on my white shirt when I want to go to wear it. And that was the same concern with sunglasses, that they're going to be damaged. And that means that one of two things is happening. Either I am not maintaining these basic items in a way that is remotely adequate, because if I was, they wouldn't be damaged. Which is interesting because I cherish so much of my closet and treat so many of my older vintage pieces with such respect, and obviously I'm not treating my basics the same way. So that's an interesting thought. So either that's happening, or these items are utterly impractical for my daily life and my lifestyle, and I should consider finding alternatives to these items that can't be maintained in the way that they need to be. I don't love that. I don't love that realization for me. That, I think, is a good piece of advice for anyone starting a no-buy. If you're going to do a no or low buy year or month or week or whatever it is, pay really close attention to how you're feeling beforehand. And if you're doing some panic buying, make a note of what those items are and maybe see what types of similarities those items might have and see what kind of patterns that indicates in your shopping and consumption life. I also think it's really interesting to think of the concept of panic buying in this post-COVID world, right? I think a lot of us are much more familiar with the concept of panic buying now because we saw it play out in stores. And granted, it's a very different type of phenomenon when it's one person buying a bandeau bra ahead of their no-buy year and an entire city mass panic buying toilet paper. But it's an interesting psychology of why we do what we do. Nudge, which is a marketing science podcast based in the UK, did a consumer psychology episode about the phenomenon of panic buying and the concept of panic buying and why people do it, and it was really interesting. In the episode, they reference a 1935 Harvard study utilizing a red dot in a dark room that demonstrates the effects of peer pressure and groupthink on our habits and our answers. In the experiment, students went through an experiment involving that red dot and how it moved throughout a dark room, drew their individual conclusions, and then were rerouted through the same experiment as part of a group. And the interesting thing is that the students inevitably harmonized their answers to that of the group, and the group reached similar conclusions, even if it was utterly different from what the individuals had thought at the start of the experiment. It's both interesting and difficult to consider that type of psychology on an individual basis, because now, when the internet is so many people's third place, the missing third place, for those of you who's familiar with that concept, when that purpose is served by the internet, you're never truly alone. It's difficult to escape that groupthink and peer pressure type of mindset when instead of a classroom, it's your Instagram feed or your YouTube history or a Reddit group. We're never truly alone in the way that I think that Harvard study was intended to replicate in today's world with our access to the internet. And that means that those pressures, that groupthink mentality, is all the more prevalent. And I should specify that I don't think that this peer pressure is referencing just a keeping up with the Joneses type of peer pressure. I think it's really not a casual type of peer pressure so much as it is a sudden onset of collective scarcity mindset. And that's really scary. In today's economic outlook, the scarcity mindset, which is when people are afraid that the resources that they have are finite or must be used and conserved strategically, that scarcity mindset is a powerful force. And it certainly was a powerful force on me ahead of this no-buy. That's a whole other tangent on scarcity mindset, and we can certainly talk about that at some point. But I think that panic buying is just a really interesting phenomenon. It's interesting to watch yourself do it. It's interesting to think about in the context of the greater social changes that have happened in the last 5 years. And it's just an interesting thing to keep an eye on when you're doing a no-buy. It's fascinating what our instincts think we need. And it's going to be maybe not always enjoyable, but an always engaging process to try to see how much of that is actually true. So that's it for me. I'm losing my light, but thank you so much for listening. Let me know if there's something that you've panic bought or why you think panic buying is a thing, or if there's something that you think is really necessary now that you're hoping after a no or low buy week or month or year you might not think is so necessary. So here's to that, and here's to manifesting magic in your own life. Bye.